So I want to kind of frame this and describe to you some of the high points that Marianne missed, um, and really thank the National Science Foundation for making this event possible. Um, and we really, last year, if you attended our event, we talked a lot about roadmaps and scenarios. Now we've really kind of shifted toward the application of research and development, because that's where the rubber meets the road. We start off with kind of the urgency factor for decarbonization, and there's been some interesting work on negative tipping points, sudden, irreversible, catastrophic, global scale events, and there was a lot of concern about that, and there still is. We see them in micro events like a sudden avalanche, but we're tracking the melting of the Greenland ice sheets, the West Antarctic glaciers that are being held back by ice sheets that are resting on bedrock there. Those ice sheets are starting to break apart, which will unleash these glaciers. So these are big events that are out there as potential events. At the same time, we're seeing climate destabilization at 1.1 Celsius of warming. These are smaller scale, persistent, widespread, severe events, and we observe them practically daily somewhere in the world. Intensification of storms, floods, intense typhoons, droughts, firestorms, unprecedented heat waves, climate failure, famine, water shortages. These events are suggesting to us that we're already in the danger zone, and there is a consensus growing that we can't wait and delay and hope that we can contain warming at 2.0 Celsius. That consensus is that we need to stop the warming at 1.5 Celsius, and that everything between 1.1 and 1.5, we are already in the danger zone. And so we don't want to miss that urgency factor here. At the same time, we see a lot of positive trends toward decarbonization. The shift to electric vehicles, for example, Norway is already at about 90% EV adoption. Tesla's sales have roughly doubled from one year to the next. Major automakers are rapidly shifting to EV. Why? They're looking at Tesla, I suppose. Tesla is now the most valuable car company in the world. A lot of the work in decarbonization of buildings is being driven locally, local ordinances and code applications, and use of new technologies. Acceleration of renewable energy installation, wind and solar are cost competitive, and they are the fastest growing segments of power generation globally, which is very important. There's a heightened focus on grid management. We're going to be looking at international agreements on refrigerants tomorrow, very important. And of course, new building controls and strategies. So framing the Institute very broadly, day one is these broad decarbonization strategies. Day two focuses on new building technologies. And day three, we're focusing more on building automation systems. On day one, again, as Marianne pointed out, we'll be looking at global, national, and California perspectives on decarbonization strategies. And of course, we'll also hear about the latest from ASHRAE on COVID-19 indoor air quality management at the end of the day. On day two, we'll be focusing on building technologies and applications, and especially at the community level, very important, heat pumps and other new technologies. And on day 3, BAS systems and capabilities. One more framing of the Institute, bridging research and field application. This is a very important concept to work with. That second bullet there, the application of new building technologies and system management strategies must be worked out by technicians in the field. Whatever we can create in our labs, through our research and development technologies, have to be applied in the field by technicians. So the human is in the loop. Technicians on the ground must operate and maintain efficient buildings with new technologies. And there is widespread evidence that absent competent and professional technicians, building efficiencies and technical efficacies decay rapidly. Throughout the 3 days, we also focus on the challenges for technician education. On day 1, how do we teach energy literacy and sustainability to career tech students who just want to pick up some skills and go to work? How do we take them to that higher level of understanding and change their long-term behavior as they go into the workforce? On day 2, how do we bring our programs current and keep them current with new resources, curriculum and program development in the building sciences fields? And on day 3, we'll discuss instructional methods for teaching BAS systems and technologies to CTE students. And I wanted to spend a little time, a quick note on business models and culture. Business models drive organizational behaviors. In the construction industry, each segment is driven by different goals and exigencies. In building maintenance and operations, there is a widespread and persistent tendency to operate reactively, firefighting that we're all familiar with, not to maintain buildings adequately, not to invest adequately in building operations staff, and not to build with operations in mind. And I think Jay Santos on day 3 is going to spend a little bit of time on that, how we prepare a building for transfer to operations and how critical that phase is, because most of the building's life is in operations. We're really, at bottom, we're talking about industrial transformation. And of course, we know it's impeded by strong incumbents. Fossil fuel-based industries are tenacious, and that's their business model. So to expect otherwise would be not accurate. We're already seeing, for example, in many states, state legislation passed to prevent cities and urban areas from requiring decarbonization of buildings. So again, we're going to see the yin and the yang here. This industrial level transformation, we see the importance of the demonstration projects for proof of concept. That's why we're placing emphasis on Ecolock in Oakland, Cindy's presentation tomorrow on connected communities that DOE has funded. These are very important demonstration projects to illustrate how we get the job done. The importance of public policy initiatives, the importance of financial incentives to alter behavior. Carbon pricing, well, it's been discussed quite a bit. And because greenhouse gas emissions are fundamentally market failures, how do we internalize the costs? There's a whole nother discussion that we won't tackle in this institute. We have a very important panel on day one at the end of the day today, focusing on how the commercial building sector can embrace energy efficiency and sustainability as the business strategy, with Carlos Santamaria and other industry participants. So that is really going to be an interesting presentation, one that I'm looking forward to. And finally, how do we recruit women and underrepresented groups into the building technology sector? Because there is truly quite a severe labor shortage. And finally, a few quick thoughts on technician education. Building technicians need adequate education and preparation. BEST has established industry validated knowledge and skill standards for high performance building technicians. We are completing work on a national certification for the same. Building technicians need recognition of the importance of their role. Pay scales need to reflect their knowledge and skills. And finally, and I'll close with this thought, we have a brain drain of building science educators returning to industry. We in education have a tough time competing with the private sector, and we have a very difficult time attracting adjunct faculty out of industry to contribute to the educational mission. And I really give my heartfelt thanks to all of our educators here with us today. They have the commitment and the passion to teach and to bring their industry background into the classroom, and it is so valuable. Thank you, Larry. I think our time is up.
All right. Thank you very much, Peter.